Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Risa Eldon, and I am the head of industry partnerships here at House. And I'm so honored to be joined by Julia Beauchamp Kraft, who is a public speaking coach. And she is awesome. She's phenomenal. Before we go ahead and get started today, I want to tell you a little bit about us. We're here at House Pro. We just offered an amazing all-in-one solution that empowers you, home design and renovation professionals, to stand out, win more clients, increase profits, get paid faster, and stay connected with your clients and teams. And we know there's a lot of craziness happening right now, and that's why we brought on board Julia to help you project charisma and confidence on camera. I've personally taken one of your classes. I don't think I'm perfect. I still have a lot of practice to do, but before I pass it over to you, Julia, I want to give a little bit more background. So Julia is the founder of the public speaking training company called Speak to Inspire. Founded in 2014, Speak to Inspire has trained thousands of entrepreneurs and professionals, as well as hundreds of companies around the Bay Area. Speak to Inspire is passionate about training smart professionals who are experts at what they do, but tend to freeze up, shrink down, and get self-conscious when the spotlight turns to them. Julia helps individuals to feel comfortable in their own skin, come across as the authority they are, and turn high-quality information into inspiring performances. And might I add, virtual performances right now. So without further ado, Julia, I would urge you to take over and share with our audience today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julia. Welcome. Thank you so much, Risa, for inviting me. You press go on that meeting, you press go live on Facebook Live or whatever it is, and you know all of a sudden that people are watching you. Like I know right now, there's 145 people watching me right now, waiting for me to provide some value, for me to engage them. It's intense, right? Well, like I said, I'm Julia Beauchamp Kraft. Thank you, founder of Speak to Inspire. And I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're working on how can you feel more confident, come across as an authority on video. You know, I've done so many videos over the years. I remember doing Facebook Lives and I would finish up and I'd be so excited and then immediately totally self-conscious and delete the video. And I've recorded videos that I did multiple takes, 10, 15 takes. I've heard this from clients too. And then, you know, I finally get to something at the end that I'm not quite happy with, even then. So how do we show up at our fullest from the first take or the first time and really be confident in it? You can probably already tell I'm Italian. I talk with my hands. I can't help it. I'm expressive. And so it made it natural for me to go to acting school and study theater. We're going to zoom through to my picture here. It made it natural for me to go to acting school, study theater, and I loved it. But fast forward 6 or 7 years ago, I'm starting my business and I am speaking to build my business. I'm out there in front of ideal clients, talking about what I do and making offers. And it was intense. It was totally different. I remember one of the first really big speaking gigs I did, I had 100 or so of my ideal clients in the room. And of course, this was an in-person event at that time. And I stood up there in front of them, looked out, all of their eyes turned to me, right? And the room goes really quiet. And I completely blanked out. I mean, you've had that happen, right? Where your mind completely blanks out, the sweat goes poof from all the pores, my heart is pounding like crazy, my eyes are bulging, and my mind is at the same time spinning to find what I'm gonna say as it is blank at the same time. And so this crazy moment of a minute and a half or so of complete blank out, I found some words later, but I certainly didn't get any clients from that opportunity. And I knew I needed to figure this out. So what I did was I went back to my theater school days. I thought back, what did I do? What did I learn, right? And I brought back those warm-ups and those exercises. But I also invested in time and energy and money in a lot of training around public speaking, which is speaking as yourself in high stakes situations, right? So I invested in that training. And what I learned is that nobody, not even an Italian that went to theater school, comes out of the womb a perfect public speaker. Nobody. What it takes to be an excellent public speaker is 3 things. It takes training, right? From professionals, from people that know what they're doing. So training, which you're going to get some training today. It takes practice in real life situations where there is real things at stake. I mean, for example, in that scenario that I just painted where I was in front of 100 of my ideal clients, my rent was at stake. You know, I had put everything into my business. Talk about high stakes. So it takes experience. And then it also takes mentorship, or more specifically in terms of public speaking, receiving expert feedback that's personalized to you. That's where the real transformation happens around public speaking. So if you can get some training and have some experience and get expert feedback and be open to that, that's how you're going to shift as a public speaker, is what I learned. Because then I went on after receiving all this and putting into practice, and organically grew my business, got those easy yeses when I spoke because of how I was showing up, because of how I was showing up with confidence and certainty and leadership presence. And now I've had the pleasure just in the last few months even to work with companies around the Bay Area. I've worked with thousands of professionals in the last 5 or 6 years and hundreds of companies around the Bay Area to help them be seen as leaders when they speak. So I know that you all are smart professionals, right? You're smart, you're experts at what you do, and I'm sure you care a lot about what you do. And now we need it to be seen by others when you speak. So we're here today to work on, I'm going to go right back. Let's see. There we go. We're here to today work on the 7 tools and tips and sometimes mindset shifts that are going to help you be seen as an authority on camera. Let's face it, our world is on video now, right? It's all, well, video or audio, right? Sometimes they can see us, sometimes it's just our voice. But when it comes down to it, it's still your presence and your confidence that is speaking. So you're going to learn some tools and tips for that today. And by the end of this talk, I promise that you'll walk away with things that you can use right away. Like literally this afternoon, tomorrow, when you have an important meeting or presentation, you'll have something to do differently. But I need to say as a disclaimer that because there's so many of you, right, and I can't even see you or hear you right now, you know, for this presentation, that I'm not able to give you that personalized feedback that will make a difference in terms of you growing into the speaker that I know you want to be. So just know that at the end of this presentation, I will be making an invitation for how you can get more support from me and Speak to Inspire programs and get that personalized feedback. So stay to hear that invitation. Let's do some housekeeping real quick so that everybody's on the same page. First of all, Risa is our amazing moderator today. So glad to have you here, Risa. Can you say hi to everybody?
Hi, everyone.
Yay, she's here. And she's going to be moderating the questions. So you see in the GoToWebinar, there's a questions box and there's a chat box. Feel free to write in the chat box. In fact, this presentation is going to be interactive. Just expect it. This is not a lecture. This is not just me talking at you. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions as we go along, and I'm going to require really want your engagement with me in the chat box. So please respond to those questions as we go through. And there also are the specific question box. Please put your questions in there as they come up. Just as they come up, put a question in, and Risa will be monitoring that. And I'll take a moment after every little section and check in with you about what questions have come up. And we'll also have a Q&A at the end. Last piece of housekeeping here before we dive into the content is that there will be a free gift for those of you that stay all the way to the end. Totally free, something for you that'll help you get started and do an even better job as a public speaker on camera. So stick around for that. All right, so let's dive into our 7 tools for confidence on video. Whoops, there we go. Okay, so what are your biggest challenges with virtual speaking? I want to hear more about it. Risa, if you could put out that poll right now. She's going to send you a poll. There we go. Good, so answer that poll as it comes through, and as you're answering that, something's happening, Risa. There we go. Okay.
Does everybody see that quick poll on their screen? This is the first time we've ever done this before, so. Great. I think that poll is still in progress, so maybe we'll give 1 or 2 more seconds, Julia.
Sure. Yeah, as you guys are answering that, I want to just talk it through, because what I see as the biggest challenges with virtual speaking are these four things, and I want to hear which out of these things is the biggest deal for you, for this audience. So what are your biggest challenges with virtual speaking? Maybe it's that your audience is distracted. Let's face it. First of all, we're at home, right? And you might not even have a home office. You might be in your living room, your kids might be running around. But on top of that, there's multiple screens coming up, there's text messages coming in. You might be distracted by, this fun article that comes up on your screen. Whatever it is, you just know that your audience is distracted, much more so than if they were in person with you. And on top of that, we have much shorter attention spans, especially when we're in front of screens. So, that's a reality we need to address. And then also, what about basic public speaking fears, right? Like I said, all of a sudden, a bunch of people are looking at you. Oh my gosh, the pressure. It's the same animal, really, when it comes to speaking as it is in person. Oh my gosh, these people are looking at me. What do they think of me? I love this little dude, his face. He's so cute. That's what it feels like on the inside, this deer in headlights kind of terror. How do we handle these public speaking fears? And then this one is really important with the video thing. Oh, video can get so casual. We're at home in our pajamas. I'm in my slippers right now, our yoga pants or whatever. And it's easy to just sort of dissolve into our chairs and be really casual. In fact, I was watching, my parents turned me onto this, Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show that he's doing recently. Maybe you've seen it. He's on national television, basically, with his hair all greasy and messy and this puffy coat and a t-shirt, and he's talking as if he had just woken up in the morning. Now, that could be authentic, we could say, but also it's casual, right? It's very casual. Is that projecting what you want it to project? And the last thing I'll bring up is the tech overwhelm. There's always something that goes wrong, right, with technology. No matter how much you plan, Risa and I were talking about this, there's always something that happens different than you planned. It's like that with in-person events, but it can be even more like that with virtual events. So let's release the poll of what you guys said are your biggest challenges. I'd love to see those answers.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you. I don't know if you can see this on your end, but I'll share. Do you want me just to tell you the percentages of?
Sure.
Okay, so 46% of our audience said they have public speaking fears.
Yeah, gosh, that's a big one.
42% technology overwhelm. 24% being seen as a leader. And a big one here, the highest, 48% engaging the audience.
Yeah. Well, actually, that isn't very different. 46, 42, and 48%, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Now I see it on my screen. Awesome. Yeah. So they're actually sort of similar, but I get it that the engaging your audience is a big deal. We're definitely going to address that today. So why is this happening? Public speaking is still the same animal that it was before quarantine. Like I've already said, still brings up fears. It's still about engaging the audience, right? It's still about coming across as a leader. And I know for a lot of you, you're like wanting to make sales and get new clients at this time. So it's still about that, right? The same things are at stake, even though we're at home in our pajamas in our living room or something. So even though we're on our computer screen, it's an important question to ask, what's at stake for you when you speak? Go ahead and type that into the chat box right now. What's at stake for you when you speak in your situations, in your contexts? I would love to hear from you. Think about it. What's at stake for you when you speak? These nerves that everybody's talking about in the poll that are a challenge for them in terms of virtual speaking and speaking in general. If we didn't care about the speaking and about the other people on the other line, or if we didn't care about the results of our speaking, then we wouldn't be as nervous. The fact that we care and we're invested in it creates these nerves. I remember this great story from my theater teacher growing up. This in theater school, she was saying that she had a big audition, a huge audition that was really important. She'd been preparing for it for weeks, and she's so nervous about it. And then the night before the audition, her house got on fire. So I don't remember exactly how, but her house was on fire and nearly burnt to the ground. She's up all night dealing with this situation, right? And then she has to go to the audition. She's a professional, right? She's going to show up. She goes to the audition. She races in, does her thing, and gets out and back to her home to deal with that whole situation. And she said it was the best audition she had ever done because she was much more detached from it. She was just in flow. It wasn't up in her head. So how can we start to deal with these stakes, the things that are really at stake, the things that we really want, in a way that keeps us confident? I don't know. Is anybody writing in the chat box yet? What's at stake for you when you speak?
We have a lot of responses. Okay.
Go ahead.
There's a lot. I'm just going to shoot out the answers. And thank you everyone for participating. 1, I hate my voice.
Oh no.
2, reputation.
Yes.
3, credibility. 4, yes. Not getting a job, not being liked.
Oh, yes.
And a couple people repeated that reputation comment.
Yeah.
Another one here is my perceived expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Building confidence in my abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Captivating audience.
Right.
Being judged in thinking about putting out social content.
Yeah, that fear of the audience's judgment. It's a big one.
Providing value. Finding more clients.
Yeah, the bottom line, right? Clients, money. Yes.
What I look like, how I sound.
Yep, that self-consciousness about ourselves.
How people perceive me.
Mm-hmm. There's more?
Yeah, there's more. Oh, sorry, you can tell me to stop. There's a lot
That's
more.
Awesome. I wish I could see all of these. It's 211 people here. That's amazing. Thank you so much for engaging. And I'm sure there's lots more, but you probably see a reflection of yours in what she shared so far. Gosh, there's some real things at stake and some things that are personal, that are about our own confidence and about our self-esteem. That's intense, right? And then there's some stuff about the outside world, real stuff, like money and clients, which are so important, especially right now. Maybe you don't have as much work, maybe you're out of work. You know, it's intense that when you get onto that camera, there's pressure, right? Well, let's dive into the 7 tools and mindset shifts to help you come across as an authority and have confidence on video. I think we're ready for them, aching for them, right? So Risa's going to put a link in the chat box right now. That's a link to a blog on my website that has those 7 tools that we're going to go through now, just so you have that as a reference for now to look at, as well as later if you want to look back and remember these things. So she's going to put that link in the chat box just in a moment. Let's dive into the first tool that I want to share with you. There we go. So this is a mindset shift. This is an attitude that I want you to have towards public speaking that will allow you to get the most out of what we're going to talk about today. Never give a presentation you wouldn't want to sit through yourself. It's that simple, but notice what comes to mind for you. What kind of presentation would you like to sit through, right? What would be engaging for you? What would feel exciting for you and worth your while? I'm going to go back to that Jimmy Fallon example. I actually stopped the video about 3 minutes in because it was so painful to watch him. He seemed like he was tripping over his words. He was barely there. Like maybe he was hungover. Like it was painful to watch him. Now, if I were him watching that video back, I'd be like, oh gosh, why didn't I do a better job? Now, I don't know what he was going for and whatever, it is what it is. But the attitude that I want you to have to get the best results, especially professionally, right, is to never give a presentation you wouldn't want to sit through. Or if it's a client presentation that you want people to like buy something from you, is like never give a presentation that you wouldn't want to enroll with the person, right? You wouldn't want to take them up on their offer. We're going to talk about ways you can do that, right? And then in the tips to come, but this is the mindset shift of really taking responsibility, stepping up, being the leader that's willing to do whatever it takes to never give a presentation that you wouldn't want to sit through. And this is also addressing, this is the last thing I'll say about this, the resistance that I often see in my clients to doing something different with how they express themselves. We get so stuck in, this is my authenticity. This is my authenticity. This is who I am. Maybe I'm introverted, I'm shy, I'm quiet. And when I ask my clients to shift to something that probably would be more effective for their audiences, there can be some resistance that, ooh, that doesn't feel right to me. But this is the mindset that will get you the best results as a public speaker. I will never again give a presentation I don't want to sit through. That wouldn't be engaging, right? So please write in the chat box, never again, exclamation point, to show the world and show everybody else here that you will never again present something that you wouldn't want to sit through. Write never again, exclamation point into the chat box now. And Risa will look out for those. We'll check in a minute. Never again. Okay, awesome. Let's go to the next tool for you. This is about nonverbal communication. Your body speaks louder than your words. We're going to talk about tips for body language on camera, but first, let's understand why this is so important. You see this graph on the side. I'm going to tell you the story of how that graph came to be. This graph is from a study that was done in the 1970s that's been repeated since then many times because it's pretty amazing, the results. It's called the Dr. Fox study. You're welcome to look it up. So the Dr. Fox study was about how do we test if someone's a good public speaker and what makes a good public speaker. What they did was they brought in a big audience and two different speakers. Our first speaker is a doctor, like PhDs, expertise, written articles, years and years of practice, known in his field for his expertise. And he gives a presentation on what he's known for. Our second speaker is an actor that they hired to read some articles from our real doctor a few days before the presentation and give a presentation on what he knew. Now, what do you think was different between these two presenters? I wish I could hear your voices right now. What do you think was different between these two presenters? Well, our first presenter was, of course, full of knowledge and information, but presenting it in a really flat, monotone way from behind a podium, basically reading off his paper. And our second presenter had less information to work with, but focused more on connection with the audience, moving around the stage, eye contact, dynamics, right? Lots of variation. And afterwards, our audience is given a survey. Well, who did you like more? Who do you think was more knowledgeable? Who would you want to work with? These kind of things. And what was it about the speaker that gave you that impression? So who do you think they liked and trusted and thought was more knowledgeable? Which one? Okay, I'll just tell you. It was the actor, overwhelmingly, because the statistics that came out of this was that 93% of what the audience was responding to was the nonverbal communication. 93%, and just 7% was the words, the content they were speaking. That's pretty amazing, right? If we break down that 93%, as you see in the graph, it's 38% and 55% for the voice and the body. So in this slide, I'm talking about your body language. When an audience can see your body on video, which is a lot of times, right? Your body language speaks so loud, and it speaks louder than your words and louder than the sound of your voice. So you need to know this and be able to train your body. That's a big topic. That's a big endeavor, really. But we're going to get started with a few high-level tips now of things you can shift right away to come across better on video physically. So I want you to do this with me as I go through. Be ready to use your body unless you're like in the car or walking or something like that. All right, so what I want you to try is coming to the edge of your chair, hips to the edge of your chair, feet flat on the ground, and sit up tall. It's so basic, right? But it makes a really big difference. I see so many people casual, leaning back, leaning side to side to sort of, and notice what happens to my voice, right? I immediately drop energy. So at the edge of our chairs with our spines lifted, that's a basic beginning that will always be better for projecting more authority, more confidence, and for you to feel more confident as well. Let's get more into the specifics for video though. As you can see right now, how I have my camera aligned, and Risa even commented on this beforehand. She said, what did you say? I looked so skinny. because you can see more of me. That was not the goal. The goal is to be seen from my navel to my head in the video, from the navel to the head, so that you can see my arms, right? So you can see my arms and my hands, my gestures have so much information to share, so much. So what I often see is that we can see speakers from about the neck up, right? I don't know if I'm in camera that way, but you get it. Like it's usually really close, and maybe their hands pop up every once in a while. And we are missing so much information from the speaker. And it's also just not as pleasant to watch. It doesn't feel as much like a professional presentation. Make sure we can see you from the navel to the head. If you're at your computer right now, make that adjustment, right? Make that adjustment, play with it. Sometimes you have to adjust your table, your chair, your computer. Sometimes I have books underneath my computer to lift it up. Whatever, we make that adjustment so that we can be seen and our gestures are speaking, as much as our words, if not more. The other piece of this, the last piece that I'll drop in here, is the angle of the camera to the angle of your head. So we've got the lifted spine, we're seen from our navel to our head, and now we've got to really play with the angle of your neck and head specifically so that your eyes are looking at the camera. So as if I am looking right at you, as if we're having an intimate one-on-one conversation, right? I'm not going to get too much into eye contact right now. What I'm more concerned with is the angle of your head. A lot of times the camera is above and then they're looking down at you, or the camera is below, like a little further down, and you're looking down. Both of these scenarios make it much harder for your audience to feel like you're really connecting with them and for you to project that certainty, leadership, and confidence just in how you're seen on video. So if you can do it right now, adjust your computer up or down, adjust your screen a little forward or back, right? So that the angle is just right, that you are looking right at the camera. And then you might also notice that your head adjusts itself too. So make sure that you aren't sitting with your chin lifted looking down. Even though your computer's in the right place, you might be, looking down at the camera. Or vice versa. It's like you tend to have your chin down and you're looking up at the camera. Make sure your head is lifted and lengthened and you're looking straight ahead. This projects from the outside certainty, presence, readiness, right? And also it will help you feel on the inside that inner confidence that I've got this, I'm ready, I'm here and present with you. Yeah? These body language tips will make a huge difference. Just like basic things. You're going to bring your spine elevated, right? You're going to adjust your camera, you're going to adjust your head, and you're going to make sure you're seen in the camera from navel to head. I want to check in with you guys now. Any questions about this? We'll do 1 or 2 questions. Risa, is there anything coming up?
Nothing, no questions, but just great, like people saying great information. Everybody responded, never again.
Never again.
What else? Especially your facial expressions that we are not always aware of. Smile and humor are very important. So yeah, more comments than questions coming in.
Okay, great. Just remember, guys, if you have questions, I'll pause after each section to answer them. So if there's things that come up, feel free to put them in the chat box or in the question box. All right, so let's build on that. The next piece is, of course, your voice. Often we can be heard. Often we can be seen by the videos, but sometimes we can't. Like right now, I can't see any of you. I think you can all see me, but sometimes we're not even able to be seen and it's just a PowerPoint, or sometimes it's a phone call, right? Sometimes it's a phone call. Your voice in those situations speaks louder than your body. It's no longer 38%. It's much higher than that. It's hard to say the exact percentage, but it's much higher than 38%. Maybe it's all the way to the full 93% of impact on your audience. So we have to get really good at using our voices in a way that projects certainty, especially when they can't see our body. We're going to do some exercises now to work on 3 different things with your voice to help you project certainty, and you're going to have to make sound with me, even though I won't be able to hear you. So be ready to make sound, even if it's quiet for now. Just be ready for that. Okay. The first thing that I see that projects lack of certainty, this is one of the biggest things, is up-lilting. Or maybe you've heard it called up-speak, that at the end of every phrase or or sentence, it goes up as if I'm questioning what I'm saying. Like, do you understand? Like, and notice what starts to happen with my head, right? My head starts to do this. The body and the voice are connected. And so there's a personality, there's a mindset that starts to come through in just this tonality of my voice. Try this with me. We're going to do just silly sounds first, and then we'll make it into a sentence. Use your hand as well. Da 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 da. That's the up lilting. Da 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 goes up at the end, and now we'll go down, what's called down gliding. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Hopefully you hear the difference between those two pitches, up at the first one and down in the last one, right? Okay, now let's put it in a simple sentence. This is such a great sentence that you can practice saying to build your confidence as well. I have something to say is the sentence. And Risa, if you could just put that in the chat box so it's really clear what they are supposed to say. I have something to say. Now say I have something to say with up lilting. I have something to say. Do you really have something to say? I'm not sure. Now let's say I have something to say with down gliding. I have something to say. Yeah, certainty. Yes, I wish I could hear your voices because it's so powerful, this small change. Are you an up lilter or a down glider? Be more aware of how you use your tonality at the end of a sentence, and you will project a lot more certainty, and it'll also help you feel more certain. Okay, the next piece is fillers, which we probably all know what that means. Put into the chat box now your favorite fillers. Like really, you know, perhaps, maybe, there's a bunch of them. What is your favorite filler that you know you get stuck on and it's like your Achilles heel? Whew, fillers. So what do we do with fillers? Let's first experience what it's like to have fillers. I'm gonna say the sentence, I have something to say, full of fillers. I, I have something, maybe perhaps to say, right? That's so the opposite of confidence and certainty, right? So how can we eliminate the fillers and simply say what we have to say? First of all, replace the fillers with a simple, comfortable pause. I have something to say. Simple, simple. So the fillers are replaced with pauses. It's simpler than it is easier, right? It's not as easy as it sounds. But that is the technique to work with, is that you allow yourself to leave pauses where the fillers would be. And this will come off as dramatic pauses. Ooh, dramatic, as if we're anticipating what you're going to say or what you just said was really important. Okay, so that's fillers. Tone. What I mean by tone is not about pitch anymore, going up or down, but about staying on tone versus going into raspy voice. It's so common in our, authentic, casual world on video that, we're speaking and it's just casual. And it's so painful to listen to. You will not ultimately come off as professional and certain. The voices that we really respect, this is a generalization, but what I see is the voices we generally respect are those that are deep and resonant and full. Think of James Earl Jones with Star Wars, in a universe far, far away, right? If he came on there, in a universe far, far away, it wouldn't be nearly as powerful. So say the sentence, I have something to say, with a ton of raspiness. I have something to say. Yeah, it even hurts my throat. And now say it on tone, really clear all the way to the end. I have something to say. Yeah, powerful, really powerful. These 3 shifts, if you can make those shifts with your voice, bam, your voice becomes so powerful, so confident in how it sounds and hopefully how you feel speaking. I hope you can make these shifts, and I'll check in with Risa now about any questions with this.
Here is an example. Oh, okay, there's a lot of questions.
Let's do 2 questions.
Okay, can Julia use an example like a discovery call for a design client? We are going to take 30 minutes to review your home style lifestyle.
Love it. In terms of uplifting fillers and tone, I assume.
Yeah.
So we're going to take 30 minutes and look at your home design something. I don't know what it said exactly. Did you hear it? How I did uplifting and some fillers? And I didn't go too much into crackle, but already the certainty is out the window, right? Versus something like, we're going to take 30 minutes now and look over your home design so that we know exactly what will help you to get the best results that you want. Now, I'm not sure that's exactly the right words, but can you hear the certainty in the expression of it, right? One more, Risa?
If there I go with my ums.
That's okay.
Here's a good question. How would you go about formulating what to start with in creating this webinar live recording? Structure of presentation is a challenge for me.
Okay, well, that question is not about the voice stuff that I'm speaking about here. So if we could pin that for the end for the Q&A.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. So let's keep moving here to the next piece. Thanks, Risa. So now we've got your body taken care of, right? And your voice is on board. You've got a great attitude. You're never going to give a presentation you wouldn't want to sit through. But then we've got this technology thing. And technology can definitely be our enemy. But how can technology be our friend when we really need it, right? In this world, we absolutely need it. Right? We really need it. So right into the chat box right now, what platforms do you like to use, right? For your virtual speaking, virtual meetings, webinars. Let's crowdsource that a little bit so you can learn from each other and put in there what you like. Maybe it's apps and stuff like that. But I want to tell you the most important thing around technology that's going to help you be a better speaker. Technology is like a kid in a candy store, right? We could always do more, find out more, learn more. Oh, it could always be better. We can always have that new app. We're speaking, there's so many things you can do for webinars to make them fancy. When it comes down to it, what your audience is responding to is the presenter, the facilitator, the leader's confidence, certainty, and presence. When it gets down to it, that's what they're responding to. So if technology and how you're using it supports you to be more confident, excellent. If it takes away from that and makes you more nervous and on edge, then back off of it a little bit. And that's going to be different for everybody in different contexts. For example, I have Risa here today to be my moderator. So I don't have to worry about the chat box, right? She's going to take care of it. And also she set up the whole webinar thing. So the technology can be like it is now because there's somebody taking care of it. There's been other webinars I did that were smaller that I did on Zoom. And then I take care of all those little details, right? And I only do as much as I can handle while still staying centered and grounded. So relate to technology to the level that feels like it's good for you, right? That it keeps you confident. It's a basic mindset around technology that it doesn't have to be the most important thing, even though we are online all the time these days. Use other things to keep your audience engaged and with you, which is what we're going to talk about next. Well, I wanted you to see this little dog. Be the most interesting thing in the room as our next tip. So if your technology is maybe basic, doesn't matter, because you can become the most interesting thing in your audience's room. Before I get deep into this, I want to check in with Risa. Are there any questions about technology?
Taking myself off mute. Okay, so Zoom, but I have gotten clients not liking that platform because of its bad reputation. Wish I knew what to use that I can see their space as well as mine. And then another one saying, I like Zoom. Do you have any other recommendations as best platform for virtual meetings?
Yep. Well, like I said, there's no best platform for any particular thing. It's what you feel comfortable with and what's going to help you feel confident. So you can research a bunch of things online and then you might get onto that platform and it's overwhelming and and you might have to do some rehearsal and some training ahead of time for a presentation in order to be in that confident place. I'm not a tech expert. That's not my expertise here with you today. I'm here to help you with a mindset around technology Let's go back to that slide, right? I'm here to help you with a mindset around technology that will help you be more confident and come across more confident. And so we have to keep it simple. Have to keep it simple and focus on, whoops, it seems to have a mind of its own. There we go. And focus on your presentation. Remember, 93% is your nonverbal communication. So really be strong with that. Yeah. Let's talk about how you can be the most interesting thing in the room. I love this little dog here because I love this picture that I found, because that's exactly what we want your audience to be like. This dog, like this little dog is like, yes, 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 I'm listening. What next? Da, da, da. You want to be really attentive, right? Now, what does it take to be the most interesting thing in other people's room? Like, you're in my office right now. I'm in your living room, I'm in your car, wherever you are. Well, you have to be higher energy than the things that are in their room. You have to be higher energy, 5 to 10% higher energy than your audience is what I suggest. 5 to 10% higher energy. Now, how do we know how to be higher energy? Well, that's why I have a picture of this dude. This dude knows how to be higher energy. Look at his body, it's big. His mouth is open, he's fully expressed, he's alive, right? He's fully present. Back to being casual on video. If we're sort of checked out, our legs are crossed and this, I'm leaning forward, you know you're going to lose your audience because other things are going to become more interesting in the room. But if you're like a rock star on that presentation, and you are big and energized, and you're excited and passionate, you know that it's going to be more engaging to your audience. Absolutely. Let's try something together. Because the biggest thing I hear about with virtual speaking is that, I've been at my computer all day and I'm bored and my body hurts and I'm tired and like my eyes hurt. So there has to be some way for you to shake things up and get into a high energy state. So do this with me now. If you lost it, you're going to come to the edge of your chair, feet flat on the floor again, energize spine. And go ahead and take your arms up overhead, like a power pose. Maybe you guys have heard about power poses from Amy Cuddy's TED Talk. Great, great tools for public speaking. We've got our arms up. Lift your chest a little bit, lift your chin a little bit, take some deep breaths. What Amy Cuddy's research came up with is that holding a power pose for about 2 minutes, which we won't hold it that long, but holding a power pose for about 2 minutes raises your testosterone by 25%. Now, testosterone is the hormone of activation, of making stuff happen, of physicality, right? Of action. So feel that as you lift your arm, like you're making stuff happen, you're ready to engage, yeah? And we'll just bring our hands down to our hips, same energy in your spine, same energy you lift in your chin and chest. You take a few deep breaths here. This is our Superman or Wonder Woman pose. Same kind of energy, not quite as like rah, right? But still high energy. And then you're going to let that go and just bring your arms into your lap, but keep the energy in your spine. Notice already what might be different for you. Are you more ready to connect and communicate? You also might need to just shake yourself up. You might need to like dance around the room or go for a walk or go for a run or something that can be really simple. Jumping jack, something to wake up your energy, get yourself physical, will get us out of our head and out of technology too much. And there's one more picture I had here. Oh, there we go. Of this lady, that's the power pose energy that's possible. And this would be so engaging. Look at that audience. They're right with her. Let's tune in with Risa. Any questions about energy being the highest energy thing in your audience's room?
I don't see any questions about that. I mean, there are a couple other questions from our previous section. I don't know if you want to answer this now, but how to project your voice when your heart is beating out of your chest?
Great question. Yeah, how to project your voice when you're really nervous. Basically, your body's freaking out. What's happening in that situation when our heart's racing or when we're sweating or maybe your palms are sweaty or something, your legs shaking, any of that is that your reptilian primal brain, you can go ahead and tap that right now at the back of your skull, base of your neck. Your reptilian brain is in fight or flight freak out mode, in survival mode, right? Your adrenaline is pumping through your body. It's important to understand what's happening physiologically. It's not a normal everyday situation anymore. This is a almost traumatic situation that's happening to your body. So first step, we need to slow down and remind our body that everything is okay. First step, we need to calm down. Now that's easier said than done, but things like deep breaths, talking more slowly, feeling your feet, and lots of other, even the power pose thing can help you like use that energy in a way that brings you back into the moment to realize that you're safe and you're also in control. You're also in control. When we're in control, we feel safe. And that'll help you get a deep enough breath to be able to project your voice. Make sense? Yeah.
Totally. And one other question on that topic is what you wear sends an energy and so does the color. Would you agree? Nonverbal, but is it boring or exciting?
Would I agree nonverbal?
Would you, it's a little bit confusing of a question, but she's saying, would you agree about like what you wear sending an energy?
Yes, absolutely. What you wear is part of that 55% of nonverbal communication. What that's basically talking about is what people see. They see your body, right? And your body is encased in some sort of clothing, right? So they're seeing the clothing, and the clothing in our culture will mean something. In different cultures, it will mean something different, right? So clothing has a lot of story to it, and colors communicate in very specific ways as well. This is a deep topic. There's a lot I could say about that. For example, I worked with a personal stylist a few years ago who specifically works with speakers. I did a huge program with her, got my colors done, went shopping. It was so much fun. So when I go up on a stage, I know what colors to wear for the particular impact I want to make. I know what shapes to wear that are going to give off more credibility, right, versus approachability. And I know how to wear clothes that are going to make me feel like me too. So there's always that balance between like projecting something but also being yourself. It's a lot, and it's very personalized. There are people that actually do that. You know, there are stylists that actually do that. So I hope that just gets you started with some ideas around it. Okay, let's keep going to the next thing. We're just going to build on this. Your audience still will not be paying attention unless you do this. You know, no matter how high energy you are and how much you're using your body and how much your voice is really certain and your technology is working, your audience is still not going to be paying attention unless you do specific audience engagement techniques. Like I've been doing with you, like I ask you questions and I engage you. It's a little harder when I can't see you and everything, but I know that the chat is rolling and Risa's monitoring it. So I know that you're with me. We're going to go over a few things that I know work really well with audience engagement, but I also want Risa to put into the chat box right now 2 links to virtual audience engagement strategies that go beyond what we'll talk about today, that are more nuanced, that sometimes use some technology that can be really fun. So here are the ideas, the basic ideas of how to relate to audience engagement, especially virtually, that'll get you the best results. First of all, asking questions is the best way to engage your audience, right? Yes, you know what I'm talking about? You get it? As soon as I turn something into a question, your mind engages with me more. One way to do that is with body polling. Of course, I can't see you guys right now, but you can still use your bodies and try this out with me as if I could see you and your body language would be communicating to me. I can ask a question. How many of you live in San Francisco? I raise my hand. You can see me raising my hand, and you will, without me having to say, raise your hand if you live in San Francisco. You'll just see me raising my hand and know that I want you to raise your hand if you do live in San Francisco. It's a silly, simple question, but what I asked is a simple yes or no question, right? There's no ambiguity. It's not like, what do you like about San Francisco? How are you going to respond to that, right? That's big. But if I just ask a simple yes and no question, how many of you live in San Francisco? Then you'll raise your hand or you won't. How many of you live in the East Bay? Raise your hand or you're not. Okay, you get it? That's a form of body polling. Another body pull is with your 10 fingers. So everybody hold up your 10 fingers and show me 1 to 10. How nervous does it make you when the camera turns on? 10 being total panic attack, can't breathe, which is more normal than you would think. And 1, like, throw me up there, I'll do my TED Talk on video today. Yeah. So 1 to 10, how nervous does it make you to be on video? Okay. Now I can't see any of your hands, but that's a very effective tool for getting engagement with the audience when you can see them on video. And we can turn that into something right now in our chat box. So whatever number you put on your hands, 1 to 10, of how nervous it makes you on video, put that number into the chat box right now. Put that number into the chat box. I'd be really curious to hear what kind of numbers we get. There's no right or wrong with it. Just be honest. What number came up for you of how nervous you are? What numbers are coming in, Risa?
7, 5, 8, 6, 10,
Yeah.
5, 2. I like the 2. 4, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Love it. Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing that. So you see, like I started as a body poll, but then it turned into this chat thing. So you can go back and forth with that. I like things with people's hands because then they can't be typing to somebody else, right? So as soon as we get their hands working, they can't have their cell phone with them or whatever. So yeah, it can be good even if you can't see them, for them to do something with their hands. Also, virtual techniques, there's so many things you can do. Oh my gosh, I mean, we had the poll here today. It was a simple thing. On Zoom, you can do polling, set it up ahead of time. It's so easy. You can do, on Zoom, they had the clapping and the thumbs up. My last webinar, I did a lot of that. I'm like, give me a thumbs up if you, and then I see these thumbs up come from all over the screen, and it's so fun. There's so many virtual techniques, and in those articles, you'll see a lot of them, like having Slack rooms or these third-party apps that connect with Zoom that make new other things possible. So there's so many virtual techniques that you can do, as well as breakout groups, which is I want to talk about with exercises, is putting people into pairs or partners or small groups so that they can connect on their own. Even if you have, say, like 100, 200 people in a webinar, you can have them break out and be able to actually talk to other people. I wish we could do that today. In my webinars and my workshops, I always have people break out. I've heard that 4 to 5 people in a breakout session is the limit. If you go more than 5 people, not everybody gets to share. It's hard to navigate the conversation. So that's my recommendation around breakout groups, 4 to 5 people in a breakout group. What other engagement strategies can you do with your audience? Be really creative. My recommendation around engagement is that you have something with your audience at least every 5 minutes. At least every 5 minutes, which might feel like a lot, but it can be so simple. Just like I have you put numbers in the chat box, it can be so simple. Keep your audience with you, having to do something on purpose to engage with you every 5 minutes, especially over virtual formats. I'd say this is the same in person, but especially over virtual, we need to constantly be engaging our audience. Let's check in for any questions about audience engagement.
Okay, let's see. Audience engagement. I don't really know if I understand this whole question. The question is, what do you think about interviewing others?
I think what they mean is like having fireside chats or panel kind of interviews virtually. I think
Yes,
that's what they're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I've seen and heard studies about that when there's multiple speakers, more than one speaker, it's more engaging for an audience naturally because there's the voices that are changing back and forth, the energy is shifting, there's that conversational dynamic happening, and it's automatically more engaging. So that's a great point, whoever brought that up, that having a fireside chat or a interview, a panel discussion is a great way to keep your audience engaged. Now, it can be a little bit more complex to go back and forth and really have that fluid conversation and keep the audience with you. You still have to do these specific techniques, but it's good to have the two voices, sort of like Risa and I have our two voices going back and forth. Any other questions?
One last question here. Love these ideas. Are there specific things you can think of that we could use to engage our audience as interior designers?
Well, I don't know exactly what kind of scenarios you guys are speaking in. I'd be curious. Feel free to type that in the chat box. So what I'm imagining is that you're either teaching about interior design, is this right, Risa, or you're speaking to clients about potentially hiring you. Would that be about right?
Yeah, I think really what's the big difference here with designers in particular, even builders, architects, is that these new client calls are coming in, and instead
Right.
of being something where they would go to their house and do maybe a 30-minute consultation or an hour consultation, they're doing these virtual consults, not only the 15-minute discovery call, but then also somebody might hire this designer for an hour virtual consult, and they're doing things and seeing their spaces, and it's just a little bit awkward not being able to physically go meet and like shake somebody's hand,
Yes.
their space. So
Thank you for those specifics. So, it's all about questions, I would say. Any engagement strategy comes down to questions, which create engagement. And then, do you ask good questions? Do you ask questions that give you the answer that you want? That's the art of facilitation. Whenever I lead a workshop or something and I ask a question to my audience and I notice I get a answer that's completely different than what I was thinking that I would get, or it's like, or it's just like everybody's confused, I know that it's how I ask the question. So I have to go back and ask the question a little differently or more clearly. I could imagine as you're doing a tour of somebody's house, asking them, so what's important to you about how this room feels? Or what are you looking for? What are the top 3 things that you're looking for? If this is more of a one-on-one conversation, intimate conversation, you can do that, right? You can actually ask their response. If it's with a big group, maybe you have a poll. What are the 3 most important things for you to have in your bedrooms? I'm just riffing here. And you have 3 or 4 things listed out there. Feels cozy, feels sexy, low cost, spacious. I don't know, and you could have a sense of what this group really is looking for in their design. This is me totally improvising and riffing right now, but I hope it's helping you to think about how you might use this.
super helpful. Thanks, Julia.
Awesome. Let's go to our last tip here, which is how are you going to take control from the beginning of the interaction, right? From the beginning of the meeting or presentation, and then maintain that authority throughout. I'm not into the whole leadership thing where it's like a dominatrix. It's like, whoosh, I am in control. Everybody listen to me, right? That's not my approach to leadership. I don't think that would work in most scenarios in our modern world anyway, but we have to find a way to get comfortable taking control. A lot of women especially are afraid of being the bitch in the room, or I hear something similar from men, and just in general there's some fear about being too aggressive, being too controlling. And yet at the same time, like our poll showed at the beginning, people want to be seen as leaders, right? It's very important that you're seen as a leader, and it's actually really important to your audience that they're led well in order to get the results that they came there for, right? So let's talk about how you're going to take control and maintain that authority while being, a good, authentic person. Whoops, there we go. So what you're going to do is make value-led agreements in your introduction. What do I mean by that? Value-led agreements. Agreements that lead with value. Just to be like super obvious. Agreements that lead with value that are in the introduction to your presentation or to your meeting. You're going to lead with the value to them. That's good sales. I don't know how many of you are salespeople, but good sales is always public speaking. Public speaking is always good sales, basically. Not that I'm saying you have to be salesy, but we are always enrolling our audience in the value of our perspective or our product, right? We're enrolling the audience. So lead with the value to them, clearly state the structure, and get their agreement on it. I'm going to get into an example in just a moment, but if Risa could put that link into the chat box right now, because this whole thing, it goes a lot deeper. There's so many examples that I could give you, and I want you to have it written out for you so that it's easy to reference back to. So I put together a handout for this group in particular of exactly what I mean by value-led agreements that you can study, you can have with you in your next meeting, and you can use. I put it together for you. It's all set on this link. So go there and put in your email, and you'll get that handout pretty much right away. And also, you'll be on my list to learn about other events coming forward. So just know that that's there as well. You can also always unsubscribe later, but get that handout and you can look at it more later for more depth. Let's go into an example of what this would be like. So this is addressing some common challenges that might come up where you would lose leadership. For example, people wanting to ask questions, other people needing to speak during the meeting or presentation, needing to have time to share their opinions. You can lose leadership really easily like that. There's breaks or time frames that need to be taken care of. There's only a limited amount of time that you have to get across a lot of information. How are you going to manage all of that and have everybody on board and really engage with you so that you maintain the leadership without having to like whiplash people and keeping them there, right? Well, this is a way you can do it in your introduction. You'd say something like, I have tons of information to share with you today that I've researched and prepared, and I know it's going to be really valuable to you. And we only have a limited amount of time. We only have about an hour together. So I want to get through all of this so that you have all the information, and then you can share some educated questions that you have right at the end. So let's keep questions until the end so that you really get all the information that I have and you understand fully. Then we'll dive into the questions. Sound good? Okay, great, let's get started. So what I did was I talked about the value that I'm going to provide them. I lead with value. I talk about the structure, the problem that is at hand, and then the structure that I want to suggest to them. And then I talk about the value of that structure to them again. What are they going to get out of doing that value? And then I get their agreement. Sound good? And then I move forward. And if you can do something like this that has lots of value and is really clear and tight, you won't have to impose it later in the meeting or the presentation. Everybody already agreed. 95% of the time they'll do what they already agreed to. And then if somebody doesn't, the whole group will support you. They'll look at that person that just interrupted you when you said leave questions till the end, and they'll be like, she said leave questions until the end. You'll be amazed that the group mind will actually support you to be a better leader. It's pretty amazing. So I hope this helps you to take control at the beginning and maintain authority. Let's check in for some questions about that.
Let's see here. I don't see any questions about this exact section.
Okay, well then let's save it for the Q&A then. Okay, great. So let's start to wrap up of what we talked about today. We learned about the 7 tools to project authority and confidence on video. And these things, I hope you got some things that you can use right away. You can make shifts about right away. First, that mindset shift, right? Never give a presentation you wouldn't want to sit through. Tips around your body language, tips around your voice, how to relate to technology so it can be your friend, how to be the most interesting thing in the room with lots of high energy, how to use audience engagement techniques to keep your audience with you every few minutes, and then take control and maintain authority right from the beginning with clear introductions. And I would be a bad coach if I left you with just this, because this is just the training piece. Remember I said those 3 things? This is just the training that you got. This is like good mental concepts, some new awareness, right? I hope you use it, but ultimately it comes down to practice and experience, and then, that mentorship and personalized feedback. So I want to offer you now an invitation to get some of that personalized feedback and experience. We're going to go to a Q&A in just a moment where you can ask all your questions. First, I want to share with you this invitation. Now what, right? Now what? Join a laser coaching event next week with Inspiring Virtual Speaking, How to Confidently Lead on Video. It's an in-depth workshop. For those of you that get shut down and maybe you're blanking out and you're playing small, but you know that you have something to say. You know that you need to make sales right now, right? It's really important. There's a lot at stake, and it comes down to your leadership and your presence and your comfort on camera and with public speaking in general. This is the way that you're going to get that next step, make instant shifts. The 2-hour virtual workshop, you'll speak at least 3 times. At least 3 times you'll actually speak and get feedback from me and from the others in the group. That's huge, because this laser coaching, that's why I call laser coaching, lasers in to exactly where you need to go right now to see big shifts. And Risa came to an event like this, actually. That's the kind of thing that you came to a year or so ago, right, Risa? Where
Yep.
you saw people get up on stage and make quick shifts. That personalized attention is really where the meat is. And specifically for you guys, I know we're going to work on learning to enroll your audience, attract leads, and project expertise. Risa, if you could put that link into the chat box now of how to sign up for these virtual trainings. They're
You got
next week. Awesome. And there's multiple dates and times. I'm limiting these to just 10 people. I know there's like hundreds of you here, right? But that's useless in terms of you really growing. So I wanted to create an opportunity where you could be in a small group environment, no more than 10 people. And there's only, I think, 5 times that it's available. So this is probably going to fill up like instantly. Make sure to go grab your spot right now. For those of you that, like I said, know you have something to say, you want to inspire others, and you want to build your business and really make a difference in people's lives, as well as you personally know that you've been playing small for a while, right? You know that you're more confident. You know you have more expertise than you project. Let's work on that. Let's get you to that next step. I would love to actually get to see you and hear your voice and support you. And I'd love to check in with Risa now. Like, what was that experience like of you going to the workshop, seeing people grow, getting up on stage?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I
Mhm.
do a lot of speaking engagements and I always need more work. I've never been formally trained and I found Julia's class and I was just really honored to be able to have that experience and have somebody tell me what I was doing since I don't know what I'm doing, except I know that I speak a lot with my hands and I say a lot. Yeah, exactly. So very, very valuable. And I think because I interact so much with designers, builders, architects on a daily basis, and I know that this is something somebody had posted in here earlier that they're an artist, so their way of
Mm,
creative is, painting brush strokes, not, so much of being that kind of extrovert. And
yes.
on camera, on top of that, just makes it all the more difficult.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I totally understand. And most of my clients are introverts, I would say. I'm an introvert, though nobody believes me, but I'm totally an introvert that would much prefer to be on my couch with my kitty in my lap and, just cozying up. And I've had to learn how to turn the switch to be more, you could say, extroverted or more expressive. And there's freedom in that. There's power in that of being able to switch gears. It's just training. It's just those 3 things, like I mentioned at the beginning. Training, which we got a little bit of today, but there's lots more to do. And then the practice in real life situations, which you'll have a real life situation in these workshops, as well as the feedback from the outside. There's no way to grow as a public speaker without being open to objective feedback from the outside, right? The audience is always right. We can't really see ourselves. Even if you watch yourself on video, there's no way to see yourself how other people see you. So come to an event. I would so love to see you guys after connecting for all this time. I hope you got a ton of value out of today, and I really hope that we get to see each other next week. Risa, let's check in about some questions. We have some time for some questions, as well as we do some questions. If anybody that's not asking questions right now want to write into the chat box, what are your 3 biggest takeaways from this workshop today? What are the tips and tools that you're going to use right away? So let's do some questions.
Yeah, great. So first off, a big question came in from the audience. Are you sitting on a stool? Because they noticed that you're at a different level than I am. So what's your secret to your setup?
Okay, such a simple setup that I have right now. I'm sitting on my piano stool. Yes, it is a stool. And I have a chair that I got for my desk, which is behind the computer right now, that doesn't have any arms, right? And swivels. So that when I sit in my chair and I'm working with clients, and I do speaking gigs sometimes there right at my desk, I can move really freely and I am not stopped by arms or like a big back of the chair, right? So just simple things, like practical things like that. And then the computer is actually right now on top of my piano, my electric piano. So it's a little higher, as if my fingers could be right here. These are the keys. And so it's a little higher than my desk, which is good. When I'm at my desk, I usually put a binder underneath my computer so that the computer is a little angled down, so it's easy to go to the keys if I need to, and but it's still a little bit higher up. What else? I mean, there's natural lighting in here. You told me the audio is better with my headset, so I have my headset on. That's about it. It's really simple.
Okay, that's super helpful. Here's a good question. If you are presenting material, would you recommend having it to the right or the left side for the viewer?
Like if there's yeah, I get it. If there's like a little box next to you. I'm trying to think because it's mirror to me right now.
Yeah.
So if there's the speaker, I've always seen it on the right of the speaker because how our eyes move visually, and artists, you'll understand this, is that the eye moves from the left of the page to the right. And I know I'm doing this backwards for you guys right now. So from the left to the right. And when I teach people about gestures, when we go deeper about exactly what gestures are effective for an audience, going from my right, speaker right to speaker left, which is the audience's left to right, is always going to make more sense to an audience. So with that in mind, I would say when you're looking at the image of the speaker on the camera, on the video, to have the text to the right of the speaker.
Okay. And then I have a question here. Somebody said you both have a dark background. Is that preferred?
Not necessarily. I use this black background sometimes because my brand is all about performance, right? And I actually meet with my clients when I meet with them in person. When I used to meet with them in person, I met with them in theaters around San Francisco. I rent out these beautiful black box theater spaces with big black curtains and black walls, and it feels like a performance space. So I want that feeling with my presentations. That's why I chose this. I'll just say that. Otherwise, backgrounds that are simple and neutral are always going to highlight the speaker, right? Makes sense. So if you have a bunch of shit, excuse me, behind you, right? All this stuff, it's distracting. It makes it a little harder to really hone in on the speaker, and makes the speaker have to work harder to engage the audience. So I say keep the backgrounds really simple,
Okay.
clean, open, right? Any suggestions you have about that, Risa? I know you do a lot of webinars.
Yeah, so this is actually my really amazing friend and designer's wallpaper. I made her wallpaper my wall because it was really ugly, and I get so many comments on that. If you want any, it's not a sales pitch for her at all, but I literally feel so much more professional having this background. Like you said, I think just having a busy background can be really distracting to clients occasionally.
Yep.
Having something just clear and bold. I do want to mention, because there was a comment in here, that I have let Julia go over a little bit with Q&A today. We were scheduled for an hour. We are a little bit over. So I apologize. One thing about scheduling meetings is being on time, having a clear start and a clear end time. But because we're in the middle of coronavirus, a lot of my sessions have been going over, and I do appreciate if you do need to pop off, this will be recorded. I will continue to answer a couple more questions, Julia, if you are open to it for the next,
Yeah.
5 minutes. And then obviously we have another session during our virtual design market here starting just at 12:30 my time, 3:30 East Coast time. So we will have to pop off then. I've added all of the links that you recommended in the chat section below. So definitely copy and paste those links. If because of the software it's not linking, literally just copy and paste the link and type it into your browser. But let me go through a couple other questions here. And this might be, a round two or something like that, but there are a lot of questions specific, or maybe it's you come to one of Julia's sessions that she's doing. Do you have tips on managing time on a discovery call with interior design prospects where there is a lot of information to gather or share? You can end up spending too much time on the call. Also, is 30 minutes too long for a discovery call as far as attention spans go?
30 minutes is a great time for a discovery call. That's the length of my calls when I do consults or whatever you want to call them. So I think that's a great length of time. It depends how much information you need and how big of an investment your person is making. So I think the more money someone's going to invest with you, the more time they need to spend with you to create a relationship. So
Right.
I'm not sure exactly what you're selling, but in terms of keeping engagement throughout, no, not engagement, you said managing time throughout the thing. What I was going to say about that is that it's about leadership. About leadership and managing the time. So you don't allow the person that's speaking to circle off and go in a bunch of directions. For example, when I have my consults, I am looking at the clock periodically, and when we get to the halfway mark at about 15 minutes, I know that it's time to start moving towards a conversation about if we're going to work together. So the first 15 minutes are about discovery, right? And I'm guiding them through questions. And if they start to circle, I'm bringing them back to the point of the question, kindly, politely, but also firmly and clearly. And then when we get to about 15 minutes, that's time to start wrapping up those questions and move towards something about how are we going to work together? Do you sense this is a good fit? What could I do for you? So that's my thought about how to manage time. And I think non-verbally, it's about leadership. The energy that you bring, that you're driving the conversation forward versus them taking control of the conversation.
Got it. Okay, and this was from the beginning of the presentation. Regarding uplifting your voice, I'm not clear if raising or lowering your voice at the end of a sentence is one preferred over the other, or both serve a purpose.
Well, of course, if you're asking a question, right, then raise the tone of your voice at the end of the sentence. How many of you live in San Francisco, right? That makes sense for me to raise the intonation of my voice because it is a question. And I want to invite a response. As soon as you lift the voice at the end of a sentence or a phrase, it invites a response. It creates a sense of momentum outwards. But as soon as I go down at the end of a sentence or phrase, it creates an ending. I hope you can hear that when I'm doing it. So we have to use this consciously. What I was talking about with uplifting or upspeak is that people are using that rising up of tone unconsciously to express their lack of certainty. They're really actually inviting permission from the outside. It's like saying, I think we should do this, and you're asking, is this okay? Subconsciously, you're asking out the side, do you agree? Is it okay with you? So instead, we want you to be really certain in yourself. I think we should do this, right? And just let it be a clear statement. And then you might ask for a question. What do you think, right? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And I'm going to be mindful of everybody's time and Julia's time. And we're going to wrap up with that question. As we said, there's more to learn always. I would love to maybe even attend one of your sessions, Julia, if you're open to having me back.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. There's so many comments here about 3 takeaways. I want to read one out loud to you. 3 main takeaways are your body language speaks louder than your words, tone up and down, angle of neck and head, see your navel to head. So there's so many good comments about everybody's takeaways. So I think I don't even need to wrap up with the takeaways. You made it really clear. And I think that people can even go into their next calls today, implementing these changes and hopefully win some more clients. And then as we progress through this kind of interesting time, I know that people are eager to be redesigning their homes, and these tips will really help our community be more successful with their business.
Thank you so much, Risa. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and I look forward to connecting with you later. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We'll see you for our next session here in 12 minutes. Actually, we'll be going behind the design with Fair Mob and outdoor design. They have beautiful pieces, so join me. And if you need the link, I'll drop in my email as well so you guys have it. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.